Well, good afternoon. This is the 41st CALLERLAB convention in Reno, Nevada, Sparks, Nevada. Today's date is the 14th of April 2014, and the name of this session is Presentation Techniques for Creative Choreography. My name is Ed Foote. I come from Pittsburgh, calling 49 years. And with me is Ken Ritucci from Springfield, Massachusetts. He's calling 39 years. And did you get the handout in the back? Okay. All right. So there's a handout for this for those listening on the CD. If you want the handout, you can get that from the home office. For the person that just came in, there's a handout in the back. We'll keep saying that. There's handouts in the back for those that just came in. We talk a lot about creative choreography, and every CALLERLAB convention has sessions on creative choreography and how to do all this neat stuff. But very little mention is ever given to how do we present this choreography. There's two sides of the choreographical coin. There's the creative choreography, and then there's the presentation techniques that sell that choreography. You can have the greatest choreography in the world, but if you don't have good presentation with it, it's down the drain because you only have a 50% score, and we know 50% in school is failure. So the key is to have good presentation to sell this great choreography that you give. One of the ways you get this is to practice ahead of time the words you're going to say. For beginners class, practice ahead of time in the car. What words am I going to say to teach this call? If you're for your home club or as a guest caller, you're going to present a figure that night. Practice the words ahead of time, what you're going to say. That's vital. So that you know what words to best say for what you're going to show. It also is important to be able to talk fast. Because when you're calling along and say you have a longer call and you see somebody struggling, you can immediately start to call to that person. And they'll know you're talking to them. Or you can speed up your words, not the tempo of the music, but you can speed up the words to get the dancers through. We're going to start off and look at a theme that will emphasize most of the things that are on the sheet, the handout sheet that you have. So I need a square.
We need 5.
We would like to have it be normal so everybody can see that.
Need a girl? Here comes one.
Okay. We all know the idea of theming calls at a dance is an ideal thing to do, whether for your home club or as a guest caller. So we're going to theme the call pass through. Now, we're not going to say facing lines pass through or 8-chain through formation pass through. That's all kind of nothing. We want to theme pass through with creative choreography. And as we do this, we're going to look at the presentation techniques that sell it. So let's have the heads pass the ocean, sides half sachet. Who is facing directly straight ahead? The girls. So I could say, girls pass through, right? Don't do it, because you know you can do it. If I called this at a dance, if I called heads pass the ocean, sides half sachet, girls pass through, some of the girls are not going to move. They're going to say, Nobody has ever put me here before and told me to do this, so therefore I don't believe he said that. So therefore I'm going to play it safe and do nothing. And now you're doomed, because a couple squares may do it and a couple others don't. So, first key presentation technique, you must convince the dancers that you mean what you say. So, when I call this, I'm going to say, girls are facing, correct? Girls pass through, go. And they'll do it, because now they believe what I said. Now, we got kind of a weird position here, right? We've got a normal two-faced line in the middle, girls looking out on the outside. Another key rule on creative choreography is don't leave the dancers unusual for very long, because they get hyper and they start to quiver and then they can't do anything. So the girls were successful here. I'm getting out. Center 4, wheel and deal. Outside girl, run around a boy. And we're back to a normal thing. Okay. Centers swing through. Now we're successful. So now this time who's facing? It's the boys. Boys, I don't trust the boys to say, just say boys pass through. So I'm going to, now down the line, fourth or fifth time, I don't have to say boys are facing or girls are facing. But I have to say it initially to convince everybody I mean what I say. Boys are facing, boys pass through, go. Okay. Center 4, wheel and deal, and the other boy do a U-turn back, and the centers pass through and do a U-turn back, and we have a starting double pass-through position. Notice when I had them unusual, I didn't look for one big super get-out that would get everybody normal. It's somebody run, somebody turn around, this kind of thing. Okay, let's have the center. So that's part A, phase 1 of our theme of pass-through. Let's have the centers do a right and left through, the others outside roll away. Centers pass through. Now, we have all same sexes facing. So now that everybody is used to doing this pass through, I can pick a sex and have them pass through. So I'll pick the girls, because they're the better dancers. No, I won't say. Now this time, the girls know that I mean what I say, so I don't have to say girls are facing. That would be talking down to them if I continued to say that. So now I'll just say girls are facing, girls pass through. Okay. Center boy run. Outside girl turn around. Centers pass through. If it's good enough for the girls, it's good enough for the guys. Boys pass through. Center 4 walk and dodge. Okay. Outside boy do a U-turn back. Star through. California twirl. Pass through. Wheel and deal. Pass through. Now here, are same sexes facing? Yes, on a diagonal. I mean, it's not that great, you know. It's just So I pick a sex and have them, I'm going to have them do a diagonal pass through. Who should I most logically pick here the first time I show this diagonal pass through, the boys or the girls? Why? Because it gives a right-hand column, and everybody's comfortable with a right-hand column, not as comfortable with a left-hand column. So I say, girls are facing on a diagonal, girls pass through, go. Now, one of the things on the sheet talked about the word go. I like the word go because go is like a hand in the small of the back, propelling the dancers forward to get them to do what I want them to do. So I will always be using the word go throughout my dances. Let's have the centers walk and dodge, and the other girl run. Good enough for the girls, good enough for the guys. Since we're half sashayed, we're going to have the right-hand column again. Boys on a diagonal with yourselves, pass through, go. And we have the right-hand column. Everybody face in, so we're back to normal lines. All right, so that's the second aspect of our theme of pass through. There's more, but I'm going to let Ken jump in, and we're going to come back to this theme of passing through that we've already established.
Okay, I had a couple of notes, but while we have the dancers up, a couple of things I try to do too. Again, the main thrust of this presentation is not just to show you creative choreography. A lot of you here call creative choreography already, but it's to try to give you some helping advice, helping words, or how we can lead the dancers up to be successful for some of the kinds of things you might want to try with the dancers. One thing that I have some fun with is let's pass the ocean. Let's do a hinge and the center's trade. Working again with that theme, notice that we used the word theme of diagonal, we can do something like this. If you're going to, let's just say you're going to theme a tip of circulates, and you've done the center circulates and the ends, and you've done split circulates and boys and girls. You can still do circulates from here. This would not be the first place I would start out with them, but I might lead up to this. Boys on a diagonal circulate. And if they know the rule for circulate, where the outfacer will flip over and the infacer will go, girls on a diagonal circulate. Now, by saying the words on a diagonal, you've basically laid it out there for them. There should be no reason why they don't understand what you're saying. You're not using hard technology. You're just giving some sort of direction. And really, when you want to lead up to successful creative choreography, giving them simple directions is what's going to make it work. Girls on a diagonal, scoot back. Boys on a diagonal, walk and dodge. So now you say, oh my, I got us into something here. I don't know what it is. I got 3 people looking one way, 1 looking another. It's a mess. I don't know what to do. So you can have the centers. I mean, there's a lot of things we can do, but if you yourself get into something like this and you don't feel comfortable, don't try starting to play around with it. The quickest thing from here, and one thing would be tag the line, face in. Go ahead, tag the line, face in. And that's going to get you out of that. And we still have the boy, boy, girl, girl. But, I mean, there was a lot of things I could have done. I could have done the centers, could have hinged, the ends could have done a trade. There's lots of things you can do. But if you find yourself doing something with a group, and all of a sudden you've been successful doing what you want, but all of a sudden you say, uh-oh, and you freeze up. It's happened to all of us. Just tag the line, face in. You know, that was more known as a 3-in-1 line. As many of you know, 3 facing one way, 1 facing another. Quickest way to get out of the 3-in-1 line at the mainstream of the plus programs would be obviously just to tag the line and face either in, out, right, or left. Okay, Ed, you have anything on this? Keep going. That's great. Well, I'm still on the theme. Anything else on the diagonal? From here, you can do things like boys on a diagonal, do a right and left through. Girls on a diagonal, pass through. The other thing I find, too, is that if you work the same sexes together, they feel comfortable many times because they can relate and they can see. Let's have the girls do a partner trade. All right. I have found, now I can't speak for your dancers, but I have found with my dancers and through the years that I'll have less success rate if I were to call, and we're talking plus right now, load the boat from here, than if I did this, pass through, wheel and deal. And let's have the boys spread. I'll have a higher success rate if I keep the same sexes in the same type of an arrangement. The girls see each other in the middle. It's, you know, it's sort of an unwritten thing, so maybe it's a comfort thing. Now, I'm just talking about the generic mainstream and plus dancers. I'm not talking about dancers who've learned both sexes or dancing clubs where you have to dance both sexes. I'm talking more generic here. The boys are on the outside. They all know how to do the end part of a load the boat. Everybody load the boat. Of course, this whole group knows it anyway, but you will have a better success rate when you work same sexes. Let's just keep with the plus theme for a minute. Do a right and left through. You can call that from there. That's right. Veer to the left. Couples circulate. Do a Ferris wheel. So then we can do things like this. I can have boys do something, girls do something else. If you lead them up, if you want to try things like this, I always find I have fun by keeping the same sexes together. Boys swing through, girls separate, come over towards each other and touch a quarter. Boys hinge, boys walk and dodge, out facing girl run. I didn't call anything hard. I gave good direction. I kept the same sexes together. I had the same sexes play together. I had an inside or outside. Ed?
Okay. Star through. Couples circulate. Bend the line. I thought of that. I knew somebody was going to say that. I knew somebody was going to say that. Yes. They should have inserted a center's trade in there. Pass through, wheel and deal. So now we're going to continue on this theme of theming pass through, but with the presentation techniques to get to people through. Let's do have the center swing through. Now, are the girls facing? Yes, on a diagonal. Now, one of the keys on presentation techniques, and we've been using this term diagonal, your presentation words should be so simple, they're what I call off-the-street words, which means you can drag in anybody off the street that has never seen a square dance, throw them into the square, and your words are so simple they will do what you want. That's how simple it has to be on your explanation. So here, if I say girls on a diagonal are facing on a diagonal, anybody off the street, and I said pass through, they're going to do that. Go, girls pass through. Okay. Center 4, wheel and deal. Outside girl turn around. We get them back out again. We get them out quick. Center swing through. So now what I've done is I set the dancers up for success. We started with the quarter tag. Then we did the 8-chain through, and we did facing. We did diagonal pass through. Now we do the diagonal pass through from the quarter tag. Now we have set them up for the coup de grace. This is the end result of the whole thing because we've set them up for success. And I would use these exact words. Boys are same sexes are facing. Boys straight ahead, girls on a diagonal, pass through, go. And they do it because I've set them up for success. But if I tried to call that from the outset, no way, the whole floor would have died. That's the step-by-step way to get them to do what you want. Okay, again, we want to get out easy. Once you've done, they've been successful, the last thing you want is to have them break down now. So even though you say, oh, I'd like to do some fancy get out here, forget it. You've done your creative choreography. Get them out normal. Those in the wave, recycle. The others turn back. And now we have a starting double pass through and we're back normal. Okay. Any questions or thoughts on this? We need the mic here.
John, use the mic.
I'm John Martin from Mission Viejo. My question is, why would the centers not be available for a pass-through? They already are halfway through.
From what we just did?
From a quarter tag. Well, they were actually three-quarter tag.
The centers make a wave. Let's see what you want.
Centers had a wave, left-hand wave.
All right. Slide over, make a left-hand wave. All right.
Yes, and what's the problem? Okay. From mainstream, then it's not allowed. Pass through.
You are not allowed to call pass through from a left-hand wave because the definition of pass through is right shoulder. Now, if you call it, the dancers will do it because they know what you want, but it's wrong.
Fascinating. I should quit.
You could say left pass through, but that's too much thinking for them. I don't want them to do all that thinking there. We need a runner here. Can somebody?
Yeah. I can be. I'll be the runner. Okay. We have another question, comment here, please.
Could you get in that left-handed wave again? Would it be okay to have centers step ahead?
What centers? All centers? Just the center two boys?
The center wave, step ahead.
And then where are they going to be? They're just floating in air there.
They're going to be looking at the outside couple, I thought. Maybe not.
Yeah, but... Yeah, the girls have to adjust over sideways.
Yeah.
Back to your left-hand wave there. So now you could call extend from here, it would be a left-hand wave. If I called extend from here, I'm always going to say extend to a left-hand wave. I will not expect them to know that it's a left-hand wave. That's another presentation technique. Anything that's the slightest bit unusual, throw in extra words.
Yeah, to a left-handed wave. I can't agree more. If you're going to play these things, now these things are not really that difficult, but I've always found that you as the caller have to understand what you're going to do first before you ever pick up the microphone and do it. And if that means you got to work your checkers out, fine, because what's the last thing we want to do is when we're up there and say, oops, I didn't realize they were in a left-handed wave. I thought they were in a right-handed wave. So now if I say this or say that, your mind's going like crazy, and then you might you might abort. You might just say, forget it, or freeze up. And you don't want to do that because the things we're doing right now aren't very difficult, but by giving them little hints. Okay, everyone extend to a left-handed wave. So your success rate, the key here is really your success rate. Because if the dancers are successful, guess what? You're going to be successful. These are not hard things to do. Even ordinary or weaker mainstream dancers can get through on diagonal things, extending to left-handed waves. It's not like they haven't danced left-handed before. Maybe they don't get a lot of it, but they get some of it, or if they're your group and you've taught them left-handed stuff. But like Ed said, don't leave them in situations too long, because either, I know some of my dancers will start to feel like that they're wrong and they'll try to correct it. Anyone ever have that with your group, that they feel they're wrong and they start to correct it? And then you say, no, don't correct it. This is where I want you to be.
So what's the rule for how long? What's the maximum length of time you should leave the dancers unusual? To me, that's high. I go 20. You can go 30 if you want, but my rule is 20. Now from here, let's take another. We have a left-hand wave. I will call for the weakest mainstream group in the world. I will call swing through from here. And it starts with the right hand. If I just say swing through, the whole floor is dead in the water. So I will say swing through, and then I will immediately tell them how to do it. I will say swing through, boys half right, girls half left, go, put the word go in there. Girls swing through, girls half right, girls start swing through, half right, half left. I don't have to walk it, but if I just called that from left-hand waves, it isn't going to fly. So that's another presentation technique. Once you tell them what you want them to do, then tell them again as you're doing it. If you give them the name of a call, then directionalize it as they're doing it. Even though you say to yourself, they should know how to do it, forget it. The last thing you want is for them to break down on this brilliant choreography that you have. So tell them what to do, but then immediately give them directional calling on how to do it.
Hey, Ed, we had a good comment here. It was a legitimate question. From the left-handed wave, when you wanted to do the swing through, Doug had asked, well, can't you say begin with the right and swing through? Well, you can, but in my opinion, that's confusing because the dancers half the time have a hard time figuring out right and left.
I wouldn't do that. It's too much thinking for the dancers.
Yeah, and again, if you're going to start playing this way, you want to be successful too. Even though in your mind you say, well, you just say start with the right. Well, they know who's holding with the right hand, but do they? I mean, do you want to take that chance? I don't. I say boys begin, or boys half by the right and everyone half by the left. Make it as plain as simple. If you got to dumb it down, do it, because you want to be successful and you want them to be successful. If we make it too much thinking, like Ed said, what's your success rate? It's probably going to go down.
Okay, yeah, question, Mike.
Keith Ferguson, Saratoga, California. I'm not disagreeing at all with what you said. I think if you're calling an open dance, all these things are great. But if you're working with a group where you're trying to bring their dancing level up, I worry that, if I say extend to a left-hand wave, they will begin to think that the reason they made the left-hand wave was because the caller said to a left-hand wave. So I try, when I'm teaching, or maybe not teaching even with a group where I'm trying to bring the level up, I will try to very quickly wean them off of expecting me to say to a left-hand wave, or saying take a peek, trade the wave.
That's a problem we have in dancing today.
Perfect.
There's so much help given that the dancers don't know how to dance. They just wait for the caller to tell them how to do it. So, especially in teaching, we want to be so helpful in teaching that the dancers really don't know the call. They just wait for us to tell them how to do it.
That was one of my notes, which I haven't really gotten to. Was one of my bullet points was know your dancers. Keith is exactly right. If we're just teaching this to a mainstream class for the first time, fine. We need to give them as much help as we can. But if you've got a plus group, or you're taking them into some DBD or something, or they're strong dancers, well, yeah, you don't want to give them too much, because then they're going to rely on it, or they're going to expect you to give them the answers. They should know, we hear many times now, well, the dancers should learn, if they're going to dance plus or plus DBD, I hear this everywhere I go, they should learn the definitions. Well, yes, in a real world, perfect world, everybody should learn the definitions. But if you do have a strong group, you don't need to say extend to a left-handed wave. They should know that. And if they make a boo-boo the first time or two and you point it out to them, sort of like ping pong circulate from a left-handed wave in the middle. Most of the time, if you call it and you don't pre-cue it or something, where are they going to step to? Right-handed wave.
Thank you to the square. I know you're getting tired.
Yeah, take a break for a minute.
Good.
Square. But these are the things that you need to point out. John?
Unless you give them tools to use, like most of the time ping pong circulate is follow a back. Follow a back. If you follow the back towards the center, you'll end up correct. The outside, partner trade, but follow a back. You give them some kind of method to do it correctly.
Ping pong circulate has become so morphed since it came out. I mean, nobody knows the definition of ping pong circulate anymore, which is follow this little pattern. Everybody just memorizes. You always go to a right hand wave in the middle unless it's a left hand wave to start, and so nobody really knows anymore the true definition of ping pong circulate. And I don't mind that; it's no big deal for me. Okay,
and what works for one group of dancers may not work for the next. I mean, you could go and your club, you might finally get your club to do the kinds of things you want to do because you see them more on a regular basis, or you just happen to have a group that can do it. But you can't assume you go guest call somewhere and the club president years ago, club president come up and say, "Now we're really a strong dancer. We're a good group here. We expect hard stuff." And one president actually said to me, only once in my career, they said, "I know the entire plus." It was back time we were doing plus 1 and 2. I keep track during the night of all the plus 1s and 2s that you call, and we want you to call every call tonight. I looked at him. I said, "Okay, never heard that in my life before." But here's some of my notes that lead to that. The first thing I even wrote was know your dancers. You have to know your dancers. Now, when I say your dancers, I'm not talking about your club dancers. Of course, you're going to sort of know them. But even when you go out and guest call, what do they tell you sometimes to do? The first tip or two, you sort of test the waters. You might throw a few things in there and see how strong they are. Well, as you're testing the waters, you're sort of going to get a feel. Let's think about it. For the next 2.5 hours or 2 hours, those people and you are going to have to sort of form a bond or a relationship. And in your mind, you're going to have to be making micro-programming decisions each tip, and you may have to change on the fly. And if you want to go down a road where you want to work something and you're having a little trouble, if you don't want to turn it into like a stop the music workshop type thing, the key helper words are going to be that right-handed swing through from a left-handed wave is a perfect example. Boys begin by the right, then half by the left. Just make it easy for yourself. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to frustrate yourself or the dancers. I wrote lead the dancers. I think we talked about that. You need to spoon feed them and you need to lead them. Do your homework. Unless you're experienced enough to get up and just start winging some of these things or even going deeper than what we've shown you so far, and you can just do it off the cuff and you're that good, then you don't need to do your homework. But if you are going to start theming a tip at a dance, maybe pick a tip or two, or you want to do something unusual, or you want to do load the boats with half sachet, or you want to do them from the same sex in the middle on the ends, or maybe you even want to take them to a tidal wave and call load the boat. If you want to build up to something like that, you need to do your homework so you know where they end up when you start the call. And what I have found through the years is when I tell newer callers, when you start to theme a tip and you do your homework, you write some modules, you do everything you need to do, that becomes part of your repertoire from there on in. All of a sudden you can start utilizing this. You start building it. Take another call, do the same thing. Take another call, do the same thing. And eventually you're calling a lot of different neat creative stuff and leading the dancers through, because you know the pitfalls, than you were beforehand. So you're helping yourself as much as you're helping the dancers. Be prepared. That's doing your homework. Unless you're strong enough to get up there and wing it with nothing, great. But if you you don't feel that comfortable, write it down. Have it written down in front of you. I have a question here. What is creative choreography? I mean, that's a big word we use every year at the CALLERLAB convention. We're going to have a session on creative choreography. And we bring in great leaders here who show you really neat, great stuff. But they don't call for your groups when you go back home. You do. So what's creative choreography to you? What's creative choreography to them? I've seen a lot of things through the years. Some things I can never touch with some of my dancers because either I have to workshop it and I lead them into it, which I've done, or some things I just decide to go a different route. But what is creative choreography to you? It's you and your dancers and you and your program when you go out and guest call. Those are the important things that matter the most. Not so much the hot shot, flashy stuff you saw, because lots of times if you can't lead the dancers through some of the things you see at these types of seminars and clinics, if you don't use the right helper words or set them up in the right way or build them up to understand, what good is it? Like Ed said, you can have the greatest choreography, but if you can't help the dancers get through it, it's not going to make a difference. And then my last point, 2 points was, where I sort of talked about this, it makes you a better caller. You're doing your homework. You're sitting down. You're theming calls. For many years, I stayed away from the call fan to top. I personally just didn't call it. I don't know why. I just sort of shied away from it. And then all of a sudden one day I forced myself to start using fan to top. And now I can't stop using it. I love fan to top. I think it's great. But, for many years I just didn't do it. So if there are calls in Mainstream or Plus that you're not using, then force yourself to learn them. Just write them down. Write some choreography. Write modules down. Read them if you have to in the beginning till you feel comfortable with them. And then take your checkers and move them another step further and another step further. Dissect it as much as you can and only go as far as you think your dancers can take you. And we had mentioned this. When you have them, these arrangements and formations, don't keep them there for very long. Right, Ed?
Okay. Let's get a square back up if we can.
New square, an old square, same square. Oh, why not? We didn't destroy you last time. Yeah, you know the dumb one he was talking about.
Got him. All right. We're going to look at a little bit of creative choreography, but the idea here is not the choreography. It's the words I say to get them through it without a walkthrough. As a guest caller somewhere that's never seen me, it's a little different. So what words do I say? I don't want to have to stop the dance, do a walkthrough. It's not a workshop. So let's have I'm going to establish here primary and secondary couples, because this will apply for this one call, because we're going to look at a Dixie Grand. So I'm going to make a couple closest to me the primary simply because I know them. Not that they're number one couple, because it can be any couple in the square, but that's my primary couple. And he talks a lot, so I know him that way too. So, and then, of course, a couple to the left is a secondary. Let's have the... So during the course of it, I love to call Dixie Grand. And I'm going to call Dixie Grand all night long because it has forward motion, it has excitement to it, and I just love it. So I use Dixie Grand all night long. But I like to use Dixie Grand for more than just one position. When I do that, I may have to throw in some directional help. So let's have the side star through, pass through, swing through, boys run, couples circulate, Ferris wheel, and just so we all see the do a right and left through in the middle. And so now we're set for a Dixie Grand. Fundamental rule for Dixie Grand: primary couple in the middle, secondary girl behind, nut with partner. So do we all see that this is Dixie Grand, or do I have to call it? How many want me to call it? Okay, we don't have to do that. All right. So that's the fundamental position for it. Now, after I've themed Dixie Grand, or not themed it, but called it a number of times, in the second half of the dance, I may test the floor out from another spot. Let's do a zoom, and the centers do a right and left through. The rule is anytime the centers can pass through Allemand left, instead call double pass through Dixie Grand Allemand left. Now, that means I'm going to start my Dixie Grand from a completed double pass through, and the lead people are looking out here in space and there's nobody in front of them. They're going to have to turn to their right. So I got to get them to turn to the right, and I have to get them to do it fast because the music is going on. So I will say exactly like this. Double pass through. Dixie Grand. Leaders right. Everybody left. Everybody right. Allemand left. And I didn't really cue it too well there. I will use the presentation technique. I will raise the volume of my voice. You can probably back home. I will raise the volume of my voice to propel the dancers through, especially the first time. If I just say double pass through Dixie Grand, they're going to say, what do you mean Dixie Grand? I'm not going to move. I don't believe you said that. So unless I raise the volume of my voice to push them through, they're not going to do it. Okay. Any comment on that? Yeah, Mike.
Keith Ferguson again. Is it really proper from a double pass through to say Dixie Grand if you don't say ends face in first? Because doesn't the definition say those facing start with the right hand? I know I'm being picky.
Well, you ought to be in the patent office, you know.
But if you say ends face in, then they'll do exactly what you wanted.
Yeah, I could say ends face in. For dance flow, I don't have the time. Now, I could, especially if I have a weak group, I might say double pass through, leaders face in, everybody. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to say it really fast. I've trained myself to talk fast. Double pass through, leaders face in, everybody Dixie Grand, right, like that. Okay.
Yeah, I agree, but for sake of time, I usually say leaders begin Dixie Grand, right hand pull by, everybody left hand, everybody right hand.
Here's another idea of a little thing that's a little different. You've all done this, but we're looking at the presentation technique. Heads lead right, veer left. We're not worrying about corners or partners now. Pass through after you bend the line. Do a U-turn back. Oh, I'm impressed that you knew that. Everybody pass through. So after I've been calling the dance for a while, and I've called chase right normal, so the boy is following a girl, I'm going to call chase right from here. Now we all know how to do that, but how do I get a floor to do that and be successful without roaming all over the place? First, I give them the name of the call. Then I start talking to them. And then I tell them where they're going to finish. And so it's going to be pretty doubtful that they're going to break down if they're listening to me at all, which I've trained them to do from the start of the dance. So I'm going to say these words. Chase right, go. Girls follow the boy. Boy is facing in, girl is facing out. And I always call it right that way. So if somebody's floating around, boy facing in, girl's facing out. There's not much question about what I want there, and they're going to do it. And once they've done it, another rule in creative choreography is if you have a good idea, ride it for all it's worth, so you just keep calling it. But keep directionalizing it because it's a little different. All the girls do a U-turn back. Kim.
Another thing on the chase right, too, I do lots of times. Again, know your dancers. This is just taking an extension further. Pass through. Doesn't seem very difficult. Chase right. Boys meet in the middle and make a wave. Girls will continue to do the call and finish it right here. There you go. So notice how if you say it, let's extend. Boys run. Pass through. Now, timing is everything. on leading up to and these types of things you want to get through. You have to say it relatively quickly to give the boys time to think, so when they come in the middle, they can form the wave and see the wave. If you wait too long, some of them might have already started to pass through. Chase right, when the boys meet in the middle, stop and swing through. Or you can do lots of things from there. Extend. Ed?
Because I don't trust the girls, I would make it even more directional for them. Boys run around a girl. Pass through. Now, I know I'm going to get the boys in the wave in the middle, but I don't want the girls floating around the room. I want them to lock onto place. So I'm going to say, chase right, go. Boys meet in the wave in the middle. Girls look directly at the boys. Anybody off the street can do that call. It's an off-the-street call. Girls look directly to boys. Now we are guaranteed that the girls aren't going to roam around. And then we can sashay them and do the same thing again. We have a loose girl here. Pick one. You can look at any boy. Extend. And the boy run around a girl. And now you just shocked me out of what I was going to say next, so I don't know what that is. Go ahead.
Past the ocean. Here's something I have fun with once in a while, especially, and I do it at mainstream programs. It's sort of stretching the call scoot back. First I'll dance scoot back for a while, boys and girls, and then I'll flip them. Then I'll say, I've never had to stop and workshop this, but you do have to give helper words. And it really I only work the ends at this point. Boys, you have a big box on the outside. So those two boys looking in on diagonal, you're going to do your turn through action. And the other boys are going to flip over all the way to the other end. Boys, big box, scoot back. All right. Then I'll swing through because you don't want the girls standing there too long. Girls, you got a big box on the outside. Girls, big box, scoot back. And you really can't do much with the boys at this point because two girls are crossing through in the middle. So again, it's just a little thing. I just call it a big box because to me it's a big box on the outside. Girls, it seemed pretty easy to do. Girls, big box, scoot back. Now the boys trade. Notice when the center girls get out of there, you can do something. Ed, did you get your thought?
Boy run around a girl, bend the line. I'm going to build on what Ken just did here. We have normal lines, past the ocean. So midway through the dance, I like to call scoot back from here. It's a mixed sex scoot back. If I just call scoot back, they'll all melt in a little puddle in the middle of the floor. So I gotta get them to do what I want, and I do it in kind of a humorous way. I say, scoot back, boy and a girl play with each other in the middle. That gives them license to do the turning arm turn. Because otherwise they'll say, I've never arm turned a girl on a scoot back in the middle, so maybe I'm not supposed to do that. So I give them license to do what? You want to play with her this time? All right. Scoot back again, the other boy, and that's the way I call it. I say, scoot back again, the other boy and girl play with each other in the middle. So it's good to get them laughing, but those phrases, those words are what sell it. I don't have to stop and walk it. They're going to do it. Do a recycle. Star through. Okay. Go ahead.
That's good. I was thinking maybe time to reach out to the audience. What's working for you? Questions, comments?
Or do you have a piece of creative choreography that you would like us to look at and say, what words do we best use to sell this choreography that you have?
Nothing. No one plays with their dancers. Nobody's writing in this kind of stuff. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. There's got to be. Just share some ideas. Sure. Just share some ideas. Give us your name.
Steve Nosek. Square up. Puyallup, Washington. Heads past the ocean. Boys only extend. Everybody, boys only. All recycle. All veer left. Center couples extend. So the question is, the part of extending from the boys out to the girls, is that proper?
Yeah, because you're going to another tag formation. Now, I would have preferred you say all the boys extend at the beginning.
I think I did. I said all the boys.
Did you say it at the beginning?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I tried to say it from a street level.
That's a good one.
Keith Ferguson again. I use that as part of a rotate, but I learned there's a couple extra words I need to say, especially if I have some higher level C1 dancers there. When I say do the recycle, I say everybody do your part of a normal wave recycle. Because otherwise, people at the C1 level and above, they can do a recycle, what's called a box recycle or split recycle with the people there. And I got caught that way once when there were some people there, and they did that. And I said, uh-oh, and because I didn't know there was that. I thought they just made a mistake. And then they said, no, you called it wrong. So I'll say, everybody just do a normal wave recycle, and they'll all do it.
We say do your part of a recycle, or
Do your part of a wave recycle, but yeah.
There's a thing you can say that makes anything that's illegal legal. It's a two-word phrase, LICA. Do like a recycle. Makes everything legal.
Like. Anyone else out there?
What are you into astronauts there?
What have you been playing with?
Okay.
What have you liked to play with? You're afraid to get them in a formation arrangement.
Yeah. Tom Crisp in Tucson. Bend the line. Touch quarter. Circulate 1.5. Take it.
Oh, this is something you want to play with? Well, no, that you do. Okay, that's fine. No, I know you can get them out. All right. Okay, so you have a column of 3. Okay, so that column of 3 hinge. That's a quick way of getting out of it. Unhinge. Go back. I mean, you could really play from here depending on how far you want to stretch it. I mean, if you got a sharp plus group and your dancers understand and we all understand what a triangle is. Now, I'm not saying we're teaching triangles, which are not at the plus program, but you understand what a triangle is. You got 2 girls and a boy right there. There's your triangle. If you want to do a triangle, circulate. And the girl facing out takes the boy's place. The other girl flips over. Triangle, circulate right there.
Only call that after you've been paid.
I'm just saying it's a triangle. I'm not teaching C1 triangles here, but it is a triangle. There's no reason why you can't walk them through. People understand what a triangle is. I just walked them through a box. So that's 4 sides.
Another thing I will do from here sometimes, I would have rather done it before the triangle circulate, but I could do it from here. Center 6 dancers circulate 1.5.
Right, I was thinking of that too.
And then you could have the outside couples bend the line, and the center, and from here I would have probably the center boys run or something.
I call that
like
all the time.
Yeah.
That's good, Tom. Anything else?
Let me show this. Centers, outside's half sachet, centers pass through, swing through, and the boy run around a girl. Girls hinge. Okay. Diamond circulate. Okay. If I call from here, cut the diamond, it's going to sell. Because the girls are used to doing this, it's going to wind up in a normal 2-phase line. Instead, do another diamond circulate. If I call cut the diamond from here, the boys may not want to trade with each other because they haven't done it very often. So from here, if I call cut the diamond, I'm going to talk to the boys the whole way through. I'm going to say it exactly like this. Cut the diamond. Boys slide together and trade. Go. Make a 2-phase line. Okay.
Traitor.
I've never heard it. Bend the line. So again, it isn't the choreography there. It's the presentation, the words to get them through. Remember, you always want to use words to get them through what you're doing. Let's look at this example before of how it works out. Touch a quarter. No, undo that. Pass through. Do a U-turn back. He called this from normal lines. Touch a quarter. All 8 circulate. And then the next call was center 6. Excuse me. 1.5. Circulate 1.5. All right. And the center 6 circulate 1.5. It's nice because it gives same sexes together.
All right.
And it's a beautiful thing. Use that if you've never used that. Doing all 8 circulate 1.5, then the center 6 circulate 1.5. Now we got all sorts of stuff with the girls. How many of you were in our last session? Okay, maybe not enough to refer to that. All right, now we want to get them out. So girls walk in dodge, boys bend the line, or boys bend to face in. Okay.
Yeah, that was going back to the boys and the girls, the comfort level. You could have done a lot of things there. The girls could have done something in the middle. The boys could do something on the outside. So I've always had great success. I've seen most callers with great success. If you work same sexes together, even if you're doing more difficult things, there's a comfort level there when the same sexes feel, you say, girls do this right away, and right away they see it, they do it. And you do a lot of half-sashayed stuff. If your dancers are not comfortable with being half-sashayed a lot, and you start calling a lot of half-sashayed things, your success rate, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, based on what I've seen and experienced myself, is not going to be as high, because unless you're working your dancers that way on a regular basis, they feel uncomfortable. It's just not comfortable this way. Well, this way's okay, but when they're half sashayed. Any other any nuggets out there from the audience? Any things you work on? Any things you'd like to work on, but you don't quite know what the street words are to get them out? No?
Let's look at this. Star through.
All right.
Boys trade. Bend the line. Pass the ocean. Just inhale and you'll make it. Swing through. Girls fold. So we all know peel the top. So let's do a peel the top. This is our quote normal position. Do a right and left through. Pass the ocean. Boys fold. Now if you call peel the top from here, it's kind of rolling the dice a little bit. Will the girls do the peel to the right? Or are they so used to going to the left that they're not going to do that? So from here, if I call peel the top, I'm going to say it just like this. Girls go to your right, peel the top. And the boys 3/4 and the girls move up. Girls move up. I'm continuing to talk to them. Girls move up because the girls were a little slow. Now, if the girls had moved right up, I wouldn't have said it. But as soon as I saw the girls were slow, I jump right in with the helper words. Boys run around a girl. Bend the lion. Make a wave. Boys fold behind the girls. Fortunately, this is not being videoed. Now, I've experienced at a dance when I've called this. Girls go, don't do this yet. Girls go to right and peel the top. Girls don't know where the right is. So the floor has trouble. So I come back and set them up again. Girls, raise your right hand. Girls, go to the right, peel the top. If I have to go down to romper room level, and I do it. Boys run around a girl. Bend the line. Star through. Let me just, while we're on creative choreography, this came up in our last session, so I was going to do this here. Slide through. Touch a quarter. In our last session, we talked about walk and dodge, and the whole world calls walk and dodge from here, and then after the walk and dodge, everybody calls partner trade. And is this the best because it's playing crack the whip with the girls? The girls move to the right and then comes back. So for that reason, I never call walk and dodge from waves. Because now, the only call that's good from waves after a walk and dodge is chase right. So at plus you can do that. At mainstream, you can't do that. So at mainstream, I never call walk and dodge from a wave. All the girls turn around. But that doesn't mean I don't call walk and dodge. Everybody pass through, wheel and deal. At mainstream, all my walk and dodges are in the middle. Centers touch a quarter. Centers walk and dodge. Centers cloverleaf. And see how the cloverleaf took followed the girl right around? New centers touch a quarter. New centers walk and dodge. New centers cloverleaf. Works like a charm. You don't have to worry about the walk and dodge from parallel waves. So consider that. And even so, at plus, you don't always have to call chase right after a walk and dodge from waves. So instead, go to just having the centers do it.
I use boys fold on, from lines facing out. I mean, after the walk and dodge, their body flow, I use boys fold. I find that to be pretty smooth. At mainstream. Obviously, at plus, I'll do chase right if I'm doing it from waves. And you see a lot of callers now do the boys walk, girls dodge, girls walk, boys dodge, things like that.
Centers pass through, star through. Here's an underused mainstream call, so I intentionally use it. This is part of dancer education. Pass through. The call is ends fold. So go ahead, do the ends fold. Obviously, you know how to do it. But a lot of dancers don't know how to do it. So I will say after ends fold, I will say boys are looking at a girl's nose. So now if they're floating around, that locks them in. Those are the helper words that make this call succeed. If I didn't say anything, if I just say boys fold or ends fold and expect them to know it because they graduated, then I'm going to lose squares. So I immediately jump in, but I make it kind of funny. So they're laughing at it, but at the same time, I'm locking them into position. Star through. California twirl, and of course, from lines facing out, you never call centers fold because it spreads the square way out, and you just never call that. Go ahead.
Right and left through, Dixie style to an ocean wave. How many, just show of hands, how many like to use cross folds and cross runs on a regular basis? Good. Folds, okay, good. Yeah, that's good though, because, right, exactly, cross folds I use cross folds and cross runs a lot. But there's a lot you can do with it. I tend to find centers cross running or cross folding is a little bit smoother than the ends.
You're going to cross fold from here? Because the girls aren't going to move.
Right.
So you would never call centers cross fold from here, right?
Boys cross fold.
Yeah.
Star through.
Yeah. Yeah, but you all are dancing better than the average bear, you know.
Do a right and left through to a Dixie style to an ocean wave. Okay, boys trade. I'll do a left swing through. Here the body flow for the girls is going forward. I said the girls cross run. Boys slide in. See, I try to lead them with the trade and the cross run. As they're trading in the middle, their body flow's going that way. And that's not necessarily saying a lot of words, but it's saying it through the body flow of your calling.
Jay King from Van Buren, Arkansas again. Just dawned on me one of the things I have trouble with. Maybe you can give me some teaching words. If we boys run, bend the line, star through, and the outside couple's half sachet. Step into an ocean wave, guys, would you? Swing through. And now it gets sticky. Spin the top, turn right, centers 3/4, the ends move up. Now, all boys run to the right around one girl. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to do, gentlemen, is wheel and deal twice.
Let me say for the CD what it is. We have a big, long title line, four normal couples on each side, all facing the same direction. So it's a giant tidal two-phase line. Two couples on each side, facing the same direction, normal couples. Go ahead.
So theoretically, perhaps workshop wheel and deal from some weird positions. And so these dancers...
There are no weird positions.
Well, it's
creative position. Creative
position.
is the word we want.
And then you call wheel and deal twice, and so they've done one, so now here comes another one. But I have a little difficulty getting my dancers to it. Maybe you have some tips.
Okay, Ed? Well, the thing is, if you do the wheel and deal from the title line, if you can get them through the first part of the first wheel and deal, that's probably the hardest one because they have to try to visualize the couple on the right goes in first and the left behind them. I've seen a lot of good dancers, even at the higher levels, flub this and not get it. If you have enough success to get them through there, sometimes I would stop. And then you're in your two-face line. I would not try to do it twice because if they hear the word wheel and deal twice before they've even started once, I don't think we're giving them enough helper words and support. If they get through it once, you may just want to stop and settle for the left-handed two-face line. Ed?
Yeah, here's a perfect place for the centers trade. Do a touch a quarter. How the heck did we have this here? Yeah, fan the top. That's good. Who said that? It's very impressive. Boys
and the boys
run to the right. Okay. Now, of course, we have the same title situation we had. I would never call this an open dance because the success rate is going to be too low. So this is a workshop, and we're workshopping wheel and deal. So we get them to do the first wheel and deal correctly. Of course, I would say on your own side, in your own line of 4, ignore the other line. Those are the words I'm going to say. We're going to wheel and deal. So go ahead, do the wheel and deal. Now from here, the key to get them to do the second one is centers trade.
Watch.
Because now, before they were working on their own group of 4, now they have to look at a new formation, and the centers trade gets them oriented to the new formation, and now the wheel and deal is going to be smooth. So inserting the centers trade will help on the second wheel and deal.
And even on that, hold on, Keith, even on that line of 4, the title line, I'll even go a step further and say, working on your own side within your own group, we're going to do a wheel and deal. I'll say, who's the couple on the right? I'll leave no stone unturned if they're a weaker group. And then if they can see the couple on the right, if they know that the couple on the right normally goes in first, you've danced a million wheel and deals at that point.
Keith Ferguson again. Yeah, I saw one caller, and I honestly don't remember who it was, but got success with that title line and a laugh. He said, each line of 4, go forward and back. And they thought, that's weird. And then he did it a second time, and now they clearly saw their line of 4. And then he said what you said about in that same line of 4, do your wheel and deal.
Now, here's something you can use, using that same idea. Here's something you can use at an open dance, and you don't have to workshop it, and maybe they haven't done this. Everybody bend the line, slide through, touch a quarter, fan the top. Boy, run right.
Yep.
Do a 4x4 wheel and deal to face the other line of 4. The key words there were to face the other line of 4. So if they were floating around, the words face the other line of 4 gets them locked on. The hardest part of that is really the mixed sex fan the top, not the 4x4 wheel and deal.
Yeah, that's probably. But if you can get them up to this point, just start doing the first wheel and deal. If you get them correctly through that, then maybe, like Ed said, the centers trade. It would be a boys at that point.
Phase 2.
Boys trade. Right.
Slide through. Right. Once they've done that, now you move on to phase 2. Touch a quarter. Fan the top. Boys run right. Do a 4x4 wheel and deal, go, and sweep a quarter. And sweep a quarter again if you don't like them. Okay. Only call it after you've been paid. Okay. So just a little playing around with them.
How about a nice hand for our dancers, huh?
Yeah, thank you today. You've been up for a while there. Okay, any final questions or comments before we finish?
Just remember, it's not so much the creative choreography. I mean, that plays a big part of it. But you could be as creative as you want. If you cannot use the proper words to guide your dancers through it at the critical times, then you will not be successful. So it's more important of how you say it sometimes than what you say.
And I want to finish with the comment that's at the bottom of your handout, which is creative choreography is fine, but it's the icing on the cake. It is not the cake. At the most, 20% of your dance should be creative choreography, and depending on your floor, it might only be 10%. It's the icing on the cake. It's the spice that enhances the flavor. If you have too much creative choreography, it's just overload for the dancer. So you sprinkle it in like fine spices. Just a second here, here comes the mic.
Scott Pierce from California. Ed, as you move up in program levels to advanced and or to challenge, does that 20% line hold fast, or does it?
No. Once it's a new world. Once you get to advanced, the creative choreography the percentage goes up.
Way up.
And challenge, it goes maybe all the time.
Yeah, because the dancers at that point, if the serious dancers are moving up through the programs, if they're being taught properly at their workshops or programs, they're being taught to start to reach out, touch, regain the formation, look, be aware, learn your definitions, and then they become stronger because they start working as a unit of 8 as opposed to just doing whatever the caller says and getting through it based on whatever is spoken.
If you remember one thing from this session, tell the dancers where they're going to finish. Boys are looking in, girls are looking out. You're looking at lines, you're looking at noses or stomachs or whatever. You got to get them locked on to an end spot and use your presentation words to get them to be locked on to that spot. I want to thank you for being here. Thank you very much.
Nice hand for Ed Foote right here.
And for Ken Ritucci.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the convention.